So this thing that I'm working on right now is called Runaway, the Keisha Davis story, right? I got Dave May to come out and film it. You know what I mean? So he filmed, me and him sat down and wrote it, basically. Because I was doing this movie called Uncle Pete and the Gold Bach Conjecture. It's like Akela and the Bee for math. So it's a story about math, right? These two little kids, they grew up together. One is a black girl and one is a Spanish guy, right? They grew up together on this block. And the Spanish guy, his uncle, right, was a dude who had tried to solve a math equation like 30 years earlier. And he got all this fame and stuff from trying to be the only one who could solve this equation. And I don't know if you know about the Gold Bach Conjecture, but it's a math problem right now. If you solve it, they'll give you $1 million. Period, right?
It's called the
Gold Bach Conjecture.
Gold Bach Conjecture.
Gold Bach Conjecture. Look it up, right?
Okay.
So what happened was the two little kids growing up, he finally told his best friend, about his uncle. But his uncle went mad because a lot of people saw his work and did other stuff with his work, but he was never able to accomplish his initial accomplishment, so he went kind of crazy, right? So now, 30 years later, the nephew of the guy who solved the equation, he's about to get put out of the house because they bought the house for him and all of that, but nobody came up with no more money or whatever, so they're about to get put out. So the friends, the girlfriend, the little girl and the little boy, they come up with this plan, right, to solve the equation so that he could keep his house. All right? So they do, they try to use like the internet and the people that's around them to be able to solve this equation. And they submit an answer to Cambridge, the college in England, right? And Cambridge is just a little slow in handling it. So what happens is the little boy gets put out, right? They have to go back to Mexico because they don't have no place else to go in the States, right? But at the same time that he's getting put out, Cambridge sees this answer, right? And it's like, oh, they check it out and they're like, oh, the answer is wrong. And then they find out that it was done by two 12-year-old kids. You know what I mean? So they're like, what? 12-year-old kids did this? So then they go and they buy the house in auction, right? And give it back to them and give the two kids scholarships to go to college for math. Shit like that. So that's one of the stories that we were supposed to be doing, then COVID hit. Right. Now remember, we doing this, it's got, a cast of like 300 people, right? You can't do nothing like that with COVID. Right. So unless you fucking Tyler Perry and own your own fucking studio or something.
Can't even do it with him.
Yeah, he got some shit going on. All right. He got a hotel on his property that everybody who work for him stay in that hotel. They never leave. All right. But at any rate, because Lord Jamel is getting ready to go there. At any rate, since we couldn't do that, I had this young girl, Powerful. I don't know if you remember Powerful Mind. You might have went to his funeral.
Powerful Mind. Yeah.
Right in his act. Well, his daughter, she been bugging me for like 2 years. Like, yo, come and see my play. Come and see my this. Come and see my that. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, you know what I mean? So I finally went, and yo, this little girl, she did everything. She conducted the orchestra. She was the teacher helper. She sang. She acted. She had some chops. So I was like, all right, bet. So I was like, I cast her as the leading role in Uncle Pete and the Gold Bach Conjecture, right? But since we couldn't do it, I was like, damn, man, I promised this girl I was going to do something.
She was going to play one of the book.
Yeah, she was going to play the girl, the best friend, right? I was like, all right, cool. So then I just said, let me write something for her that only got like 6 people. I want a movie that's going to keep people on the edge of their seat with 6 people. And that's when I came up with the idea for Runaway. So basically, this little girl...
You wrote that from scratch?
Yeah. This little girl, she's 12 years old, and her mom thought that her dad was going to marry her, but he wouldn't leave his family that he already got. You know what I mean? So the mom is like mad angry and takes it out on the little girl, right? So the little girl, 12 years old, she's like, yo, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm going to daddy's house. And the mother's like, well, if you think you can make it all the way to wherever daddy lives, go ahead. You know what I mean? No one thinking that she can't do it. So she tries. And what happens is she winds up like getting in a real bad situation. You know what I mean? And that's the whole story of Runaway, the Keisha Davis story. You know what I mean? She finally makes it to her dad's house or whatever, but when she does, she's a whole new person by the time she gets there.
Just on the journey to getting to the house.
Yep. The turn the camera off, I'll tell you what happened.
If Mecca did this.